you have a con man, a god man, and a controversy, and some sponsors, and you can do a festival.
How did this all happen?
Everybody talks to one's own age cohort,
Yes.
but we need to break this.
What a journey from bureaucracy to curating a lit fest.
We've grown up as a nation. We must follow Indian stories. We must follow themes which are so much around us.
An average European reads so much. An average American reads so much. An average Central Asian reads so much. And there was an average Indian which read this much.
We grew up reading them, but today, largely because a lot of people are now traveling by air, but airports do not have Hindi books. Airports do not even have books by Indian authors.
That is exactly my point.
That is what WOW is trying to challenge.
Each time when you have to look at literary works from a prism of understanding it, why do we again segue down to the Western culture?
If the world has to be changed, it can only be through the word. It can only be through books, and the word is akshar, as they say.
Hello and welcome. Welcome to this another edition of Cutting Edge. We are here with Mr. Sanjeev Chopra, the curator of Valley of Words, an outstanding lit fest which happens every year in the lovely valley of Dehradun. 8 of them are already over. 9th happens this month from 25th and 26th. And thereafter, we move into the 10th edition of this wonderful edition of the Valley of Words, which not only celebrates the literary acumen in the country, but also looks at so many students who look at books as part of their well-being and pathway to success. Welcome, Mr. Chopra. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. It's a lovely studio. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I just want to ask you, how did this all happen? The Valley of Words, and what exactly?
You see, it's a long story, but let's put it like this: that from about the last 10, 15 years, one has been participating in debates and discussions, and curated festivals, and I was invited to a lot of festivals as a discussant. And in Calcutta, we have 2 very important literature festivals. So at the end of one of them, one of the sponsors, he asked me that would I like to be the festival director next year in Calcutta. So I made up my mind. I said, okay, let's do it in Calcutta. But then my better half, who's always has a right sense, he says, are you going to settle in Calcutta? I said, no, I'm going to be settling in Dehradun. So then put all your effort and all your energy into the city where we are going to settle. So that's how the whole thought came, and how we started this festival in Dehradun. So, and then, when we started out, we wanted to call it Dehradun Literature Festival, but then one realized that, why give a name which is linked to a city? Why not have a name like the Valley of Words?
Correct.
And the Valley of Words came out as a very nice name, and
Wow.
the acronym WOW, turned out to be even better. So over the years, we have evolved. So over the first year, we did like what every literature festival does, get a lot of people, get a lot of books, get a lot of discussions. But then from the second year onwards, we decided that we must focus ourselves. We must be focused on specific genres. We must be focusing on contemporary books, and we must be focusing on finding new authors and bringing them to light. You see, because most conventional festivals look at celebrities, In fact, as I say, that you have a con man, a god man, and a controversy, and some sponsors, and you can do a festival. But this is a festival where we don't get a con man, we don't get a god man, we don't have any controversies, and we celebrate the best books that have been written in the last calendar year.
Wonderful.
So our model from the second edition has been to reach out to publishers, get the best books which the publishers feel are the best books that they have printed in the last calendar year. So that we get about 700-800 books every year. Of these, we make a long list, and this long list is based on reviews, on critical readings, on how the libraries have looked at books. And then from there, we curate a long list, then a short list, and finally the winner. And we invite all the 8 winners in 8 categories, which is English fiction, English non-fiction, translations from Bhashas of Bharat into English, and same for Hindi, the best works in Hindi fiction, Hindi non-fiction, translations. And then we also have a vertical for young adults, that is writings from the ages of 12 to 16, and for kids, ages between 5 to 11. So that's how we get 8 sets of books to celebrate. And being in Dehradun, it was important to bring in the element of military history and
Of
strategy.
course.
Because based as we are in Dehradun, where all of you have trained at the IMA. And then, of course, because the FRI and the Wildlife Institute and the Forest Service there, therefore we thought we should also have a vertical on environment and ecology. And Dehradun, incidentally, is the place where you have all the training institutions.
All, including Lavasna.
Including LBSNA. And therefore, that's how the thought, that we should have eight celebrated authors in eight different categories and have some conversations, have some issues of topical interest, involve the youth. One of the focus has been an intergenerational dialogue. One of the things is that everybody talks to one's own age cohort.
Yes.
But we need to break this. We need to have, kids talking to us talking to kids, So that's the sort of thing that we had in our mind. So some of the core points that we had in our vision statement include an intergenerational dialogue, appreciation of excellence in others, thinking out of the box and looking for creative solutions to, or at least options to make the world, it's a presumptuous statement, but if the world has to be changed, it can only be through the word.
Of course.
It can only be through books, and the word is akshar, as they say.
Akshar.
So it is the only thing, it's the only magic in the world,
That's why, a lot of people say that, words cast spells.
Absolutely.
That's why they're called spellings.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Words are energy. They need to be used wisely. But you imagine, sir, what a journey from bureaucracy to curating,
well, yes,
Lit Fest. Outstanding.
In a way, yes, but it's been a gradual transition,
Right.
because I've always been fond of reading.
Okay.
I've always been fond of writing. And I've always done book reviews. Book reviews is something which has always been there because one never had the time to write a book. But one always had time to read a book and do a critical commentary on that.
Yes.
So I think that's how it started. And once it starts, then everything gets a momentum of its own.
No, it's lovely. I think, the Indian generation, especially in this era of doom scrolling, I think, sir, what people are missing out is the joy of reading a book these days.
Yes, the joy of reading a book and a conversation on a book.
Yes, conversation.
So one of the things, one of our USPs is that all the books are read, and that is one of the reasons why we insist that the winning author must come to Dehradun and share his or her thoughts and have an extended discussion. So every book that we have is adopted by an institution, by a college, a university, or a school.
Excellent.
And then the teachers and the faculty, they have already had a fair amount of discussion on that book before the actual event. And therefore, the discussion gets very nuanced. You see, one is to have a celebrated author and he'll tell you some things, and then the audience can ask a few questions. But those are questions which have the person has not read that book in entirety.
Yes.
So when you have an author facing an audience in which at least 50% people are thoroughly aware of your book, not only the current book, but also the books that you've written before, and also books around that subject, then it becomes a very interesting conversation.
Oh, it does. And any tracks that you have during this entire Lit Fest?
For example, every year we look at a theme. This year the theme is Uttarakhand at 25.
Right.
So because it's the 25th year of Uttarakhand, and therefore, while we are starting with a Shabad, Sir Diya, Sir Na Diya, the Shabad of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji.
350 years.
350 years of his martyrdom. But then the theme is Uttarakhand at 25. So we have Shekhar Pathak, who's a living historian of Dehradun. He'll be giving the keynote address.
Oh, excellent.
And what we've also done is, Dehradun, we've got 9 languages which are spoken in and around Dehradun. You have English, of course, English, Hindi, you have Punjabi, you have Urdu, you have Kadwali, you have Kumaoni, you have Jaunsari, you have Tibetan. So we've got kids from speaking these 9 languages who will give us their vision of Uttarakhand, non-competitive category.
Wow.
So that, we understand from the youth what is it that they would expect of Uttarakhand.
The polyglot version.
The polyglot version of Uttarakhand. And every year we try to do something. Last year, in our 8th edition, we looked at 8 knowledge institutions of Dehradun. The Survey of India, the National Hydrographic Office, the Wildlife Institute, the Forest Survey of India, the FSI, and then we had this medical college which has been set up by Swami Ram.
Oh, yes.
And we have this Center for Arts, which is the Jendranath Memorial Center of Arts. So we got students from 10th to 12th talk to the heads of these institutions. So it's the Surveyor General of India in conversation with kids of class 10. And when they ask questions about survey, when they ask questions about George Everest, when they ask questions about Nain Singh Rawat, when they ask questions about the trigonometrical survey, when they ask questions about what is it to map, it's a very different conversation, because you and I are used to asking a set of questions.
Absolutely.
But when these kids ask questions to, the art institute, on sculpture, on painting, on pottery, so it's a different world altogether.
And most of the times, I think, the uninitiated can really
Yeah,
stump
they
you.
can really
They can
stump
give you
you.
some great ideas.
Yes, and it's the other thing is, that the other kids in that age group, they connect more.
Of course.
I mean, you and I will be able to say something, but when the same thing is said by kids in class 10th, 11th, 12th, and that curiosity is something which is
much
fascinating. This year also, we have and some of the sessions that we are doing this year, I think are quite unique. For instance, Dehradun as a beggar-free city.
Okay.
Because this is an initiative which started in Benares, where there's an institution called the Beggars Corporation of India. They're trying to make Varanasi beggar-free, and Dehradun is the second city which we are trying to make beggar-free. So you bring in a little social concerns.
Of course.
We got 2 sessions on ecology and environment. One is called "The Glaciers Are Melting." Are you listening? So this brings in people from the Geological Survey, people from the world of academia, social activists, all these people, they'll be discussing this.
And either way, Uttarakhand has borne the brunt of so much of climate change and everything. In the last around 2 years, it's been quite ghastly, actually.
Yeah. So, these are conversations which may not. One of the things about literature is that it's not an instant impact. But
Yes, of course.
in fact, I remember that some of the books that we read while we were growing up, those books have a lasting impact on our lives. Those books, even now.
Yes, absolutely.
And those books, bring you to the fore. I grew up in a cantonment town, so one was not aware of caste. One was not aware of, we are used to a hierarchy of a different order.
Absolutely.
And I remember getting this book, The Untouchable by Mulk Raj Anand.
Yes.
It was a prize book. It was a book given
Book
as a prize given to me when I was in class 10. And, that was the time we were all reading Hardy Boys and Nick Carter's and all these things. And
Nancy Drew's also.
Nancy Drew. So we thought, what is this book? But when I read Mulk Raj Anand, it sort of, shook me.
Yes.
It sort of made me realize that, there is a whole world which we in cantonment towns
we have no clue.
No clue about.
No clue.
And incidentally, this book is set in Jalandhar cantonment.
Yes, absolutely.
His book is set in Jalandhar cantonment. It talks about a hockey player. It talks about Phaka, the Untouchable.
Yes.
And then that led me to read other books on Mulk Raj Anand, Two Leaves and a Bud, the Coolie. So, it sort of brings you to a different world altogether.
It does.
So I think starting from that thing has always been in my mind that, if we do not expose our young children and even adults to the best of literature, then they would be missing out on something.
Of course.
And that's why, in fact, we do this vertical on children's books. And, just day before yesterday, we did a vertical at the Himjyoti school. I mean, the 5 books that came for children, where we wanted children to enact those books, to do plays on those books, to do a musical on that book. Let me tell you about these books for this year. The first book was Cactus Wants a Hug.
Okay.
Now, it is about that everyone wants a hug.
The topic is outstanding. The cactus wants a
cactus wants a hug. But then, when the balloon wants to hug the cactus, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right. So then the whole story goes on to believe that a hug is not the only way to express love.
Absolutely.
There could be many other ways to express love. Then we had a book called Roof for Norbu. This is about a cat family in the high hills of Ladakh, So in one go, you have children getting exposed to the ecology of Ladakh. We had a book called Gundi Comes Home. This is about a little rooster, this girl from the Rula tribe. And something fascinating about this book was that this young child, she has a mother who's not well. And the mother cannot handle herself. So it is this girl at 6 who's combing her mother's hair.
Oh, wow.
Who's making the mother dress. So it's a inversion of a role. It's a daughter being a mother to your mother, So these are all, because earlier we grew up listening to, kids' stories are all Raja Rani, and, this and that and that. But these new books talk about cancer, They talk about, suffering. They talk about
The real
losing,
world
the
problems.
real world, and how to get out of this.
Okay.
And there's one remarkable book which I'm always very fond of is, it's set in Purulia. That's where I started my career as an assistant magistrate. Chow has traditionally been associated with it's a male dance.
Okay.
So here's this great Chow grandmaster
Mm-hmm.
who's training his son to be a Chow dancer. The son wants to play football. He doesn't want to be a Chow dancer.
Right.
His sister is very keen to do Chow dance. So the brother often bunks and makes his sister do
into a male and
male
all
Chow
of that. Yeah.
And on the final day of the state level competition, this boy wants to go and play football. So his sister comes and does an absolutely scintillating performance.
Okay.
She wins the prize. And when the father realizes that it's actually the daughter, not the son, so there's a fair amount of bewilderment and confusion. But then he sort of accepts the fact that the daughter is as good as the boy.
Of course.
And I think this trope of a girl being a Chow dancer,
okay.
Of a boy wanting to be a chef, these are all tropes that we need
Absolutely.
to address. And so all these books that come up with us for discussion. I mean, this year we have Swallowing the Sun, Lakshmi Murdeshwar Puri's book. And that's about coming of age. That's about freedom movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's about Maharashtra. That's about Brahmins. It's about how we break these barriers. We have a book called Cannabis, because which is looking at bhang is legal, ganja is not, hemp is legal somewhere it is
It's
not.
not. Yeah.
So these are all the nuanced discussions. Likewise, our translation in English is of Lavanya Devi. That's about a Marwari woman settled in Bengal,
Mm-hmm.
comes to Uttarakhand, her story.
Wow.
There is Bahattar Meel, which is a Marathi translation, something similar to what Homebound was, about COVID times, how friends come together to support each other. We have Bidai De Ma. Bidai De Ma is a very touching story about the last words of the freedom fighters before they went to the gallows. So this is Khudiram Bose saying Bidai De Ma, let me bid you farewell. So fascinating stories, And then I recently reviewed this book Suno Kabir.
Okay.
This is again set in a village, Ibrahimpur in Azamgarh. One teacher who comes and settles in the village. She's the first one in the village, the girl who actually starts driving a scooty.
Okay.
Comes in a t-shirt.
Okay.
And half pants.
Okay.
So that makes going on the bicycle very normal for girls, So these stories which are from all over, I think it's very important for us. Today we've grown up as a nation. We must follow Indian stories. We must follow themes which are so much around us. And I think when we look at translations, when we look at books, when we look at contemporary authors, now some of our authors are of course very well known, but a lot of our authors are not well known at all. And it is getting these not so well known authors to the national platform, which is our job.
Yes.
Otherwise all the publishers are happy to to promote and to publicize well-known authors.
Yes.
Our thing is to discover authors who may not be well-known now,
Yes.
but will go on to win many laurels. In fact, Gitanjali Shri was on our shortlist.
Oh.
Well, she was on our shortlist. She didn't that year. She
right.
didn't get the top prize with us, but she went on to become the Booker winner. So this is what we try to do.
Oh, wonderful. But you see, sir, in the same breath, I've been having this argument with a lot of people, polite argument, that, we are replete with military history. We are replete with so much of martial history. We have some great leaders, great, soldiers, great generals, great battles. I mean, you go back into, the not only the medieval history, go back much further.
Oh, yes, much further.
So much.
In fact, and the sort of, the conversations between Alexander and Porus.
Oh, yes. So starting from that, and, we have had this great history of shipbuilding,
yes,
which we did so much. And, each time when you have to, look at, literary works from a prism of understanding it, why do we again, segue down to the Western culture? I don't think we should.
No, that is also because I think till very recently,
right,
we didn't have very good publishers here.
I guess
because in fact even Mulkraj Anand was first published in England.
Yes,
and then it came to India. So it's only the last. I think liberalization, apart from many other things, it also brought in international publishing into India. And fortunately, at least for English authors, there is some royalty, some advance that you can get. But there's a real problem in Hindi and language publishing
Oh, yes.
because in fact, the reading culture in English is still fine. It's a reading culture in Hindi and the regional languages which is really disappeared. You remember the A.H. Wheeler on the railway platforms?
Absolutely.
You could pick up a lot of books. You could pick up all of
Yes.
Tagore. You could pick up all of Gandhi. You could pick up a whole set of books, Shivani. We grew up reading them. But today, largely because a lot of people are now traveling by air, but airports do not have Hindi books. Airports do not even have books by Indian authors.
Yes, that is
So
that is
it's
exactly my point.
so
Sir.
so that is what WOW is trying to challenge
Oh, wonderful,
by
wonderful.
promoting books, by celebrating books, by giving a lot of books to libraries, and at the WOW Cafe we have a lot of books, and we don't sell any books, we just distribute them.
Just distribute them. Yeah, that's very important. I think anybody, I also read a small little story some time ago, and it was very disturbing for me as a kid. That the story said that in Europe, an average European reads so much. An average American reads so much. An American, or an average Central Asian reads so much, and there was an average Indian which read this much.
And I think this, especially in the decade of the 80s and 90s, when the mad rush for IITs and medical colleges.
Yes.
I think that was you see, because I think the generation 50s, 60s, 70s, I saw that my father and grandfather, they had a very eclectic range of reading.
Yes, absolutely.
But around the 80s and 90s, when everybody wanted to be an engineer or a doctor or this or that, so everything went into the coaching, because your time is limited. Fortunately, the NEP may make a difference. I hope it does make a difference.
It will, sir. It will.
And the focus on translations. I think one of the best things that has happened in the recent years is translations. And we are very keen to promote translations. And now one is very keen that, we should be able to promote translations from one Indian language to another. Because, we're doing something next year. It's very interesting that, today, you will have a book in English from almost all the ethnic and linguistic groups in India. There would be a Dogri writer who's written something in English. There'll be a Malayalam writer who's written in English. Punjabis have, adopted English as the second language, not the first language. So, but the number of so that is the sort of thing. But I want Punjabi translated in Malayalam, Malayalam into Kannada. Malayalam Kannada happens, but Malayalam into Dogri, for example.
Yeah.
So these are that's the next level that we
cross-cultural,
would like to
intermingling,
and it's also very good, because that's the only way we'll understand the absolute great sense of Bharat. The absolute great sense of Bharat will come when we have read a lot.
So many, yes. And so many languages, so many schedules. What a pleasure it has been to have you on the show. And we wish, Value of Words extreme success. And of course, we'll be there to
certainly
see the entire,
the escape velocity has to be there.
the entire extravaganza. And, everything that you've just mentioned resonates so much, because books are not only, sociometric, they are environmental, they are more towards the natural qualities of empathy, discipline, gender equality. I mean, everything can be made understood to a small little mind very subtly and calmly, instead of shouting from the rooftops and saying that this is good and this is bad. And I think you're doing a yeoman job.
That's very important. You see, it's very important. I mean, getting nuance into the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think, when you go back to our classics like the Mahabharata, for example,
yes,
you find that every character is shown with inherent flaws.
Yes.
Every character has got some great qualities, and every character has got some flaws, So whether it is Draupadi, or whether it is Karan, or whether it is Bhishma Pitama,
everyone,
everybody, including Lord Krishna.
Of course.
So everybody, and that is what I think it's very important for everybody to understand, that everyone has some great quality. And the other very important point that we are trying to put across is, how do you put your point of view across without offending the other person?
Absolutely.
We got to get into non-adversarial communication.
Yes.
Conveying your point of view with firmness and with absolute conviction, but without that sense of showing that you're always right.
Absolutely.
And and that's something which I learned from Lal Bahadur Shastri's, while researching on his book, that he was a great listener. So one of the important things is to listen. When you listen, when you listen to a person, even your adversary for the first time, you may not agree with anything. Second conversation, you will begin to think, all right, maybe there is something
You're missing
you're
out.
missing out, and
Yes.
then he listens to you, because when you listen to someone, the other person is willing to listen to you. So I think that's what we are trying to achieve.
Wonderful. So wonderful. So we wish you good luck.
Thank you so much.
And we hope to see you there absolutely on stage. And all of you, all I can tell you is please go and visit the Valley of Birds. And may all our lives be full of stories. And thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming up.
Thank you. What a pleasure.